Mrs. Collins, thank you.
Helen.
Helen, thank you for accepting my invitation. And we are right now in your shop.
Yes, this is my shop. I'm fortunate to have it just a few feet from the house, so it makes it convenient to work whenever the creativity pushes me.
You've been doing this for a very long time.
I was born and raised in Ontario, Northern Ontario, Sault Ste. Marie to be exact. I taught school in Sault Ste. Marie for close to 40 years. I taught elementary and high school, and it was in the high school that I was doing visual arts and creative arts and theater arts. So I've been involved in the arts programs, and that's when I got involved with stained glass. And actually, the story was my daughter, my youngest daughter, moved to the States, and she had a house with all windows. She said, Mom, she said, you got to do some stained glass for these windows. So that was the encouraging spot to get me involved in stained glass.
Many artists told me that it was a bit harder for women to cut the glass.
No, I had no problems. Really, I had a wonderful teacher in the Sioux, Charlie Tomlinson, and he gave us the details that we needed to find the easy way through it. I know lately a lot of people have been complaining about arthritis and they can't keep up with it. And that is unfortunate, but I'm very fortunate to still be able to manipulate my hands in the cutting, and the cutting isn't hard because with all the equipment today, it's fairly easy.
When you started to do some work for your daughter's house, for her windows,
Yes.
what did you do for her?
Well, foolishly, I undertook, when you have your patio doors and you have the two long side lights to do she loved flowers. So I did a big stained glass flower and the whole window. Little did I know, talk about a learning curve or gutsy move. I made them, it took me a long time, and I didn't realize how to brace them, didn't realize the bracing that it would take for that big window. So I just learned by myself, taught myself, and they turned out really quite well. I was surprised, and that was encouraging me to keep going.
Then you started working in Ontario.
Right.
And you moved to Newfoundland. That was a big move.
Well, I moved to Newfoundland when I was 70. I'd retired, and I moved. My son wanted me to come to Newfoundland, my adopted son. And I came to Newfoundland, and that's where I got real inspiration. Newfoundland is an amazing province, and that has inspired my work to go forward. And as you can see, the first thing I learned was about your mummers, and then your snowshoes. They're so different with all so I've gone quite a bit into the Newfoundland, and to the point where I don't know if you can see the guitar with all their music and that. So it's inspired me in so many ways that I'm just so thankful that I had this opportunity. I mean, at 70, how many women, get this opportunity?
You've done lots of things. You've done lots of lamps.
Oh, creativity, yes, lamps. This is one of them. And there's always four sides. And this here So I don't believe in going small. That's a large lamp. So I've done snowshoes, I've done lamps, I've done lamps for children's rooms, the actual lamps. I had fun with those with the Disney characters on their lampshades. So that I challenged myself, and the guitar was the worst challenge yet.
How did you come up with the idea about the guitar?
I saw it on on online that people had done, and there was a video on how to get the top off the guitar so you could make your glass to slide on. So thank God for YouTube and self-learning and but that was a real learning curve, that one, because I had no previous a pattern to follow.
Let's talk about your palette. How do you choose your colors?
That's gut. I pull out what I think, and that's the hardest part. I make my pattern first, and then I start pulling out the colors from my glass bins, and I tried it, and like this one, I tried it 3 or 4 times, and the colors, and I didn't like it, and it changes as it goes. I create, and the background is what I tried the different houses, the colors, and those were the ones that popped that still didn't interfere with the mummer effect. So colors, you go by feel or by what you see or what it's part of being creative. But I have taught lessons. I've taught a few people here in Newfoundland. I taught my sister-in-law, and oh, she was amazing. She caught on like flint. She just took to it like duck to water, and she's done some amazing things. The whole thing is I can. I can do it. Somehow I'm going to find a way to do it. So yeah, you go forward with a positive attitude, and everything seems to just come together. But when it doesn't look right, I set it aside because it'll work in a different project that I'm doing.
And you're being inspired by nature, by Disney, by different characters.
Mainly nature. I love nature. And of course, right out my window is the ocean. I am so blessed. And that's my inspiration. I've got dolphins and kayaks and you name it. And then again, the winter scene, what's native to Newfoundland, like their snowshoes with all their little tassels all around it. That's what makes it Newfoundland. And moose. I've sold tons of moose on snowshoes for their cabins. So there's been a lot of inspiring things around here.
So you're working a lot with metal as well.
Solder. Oh, yes. It's all tape. You tape it with a fine tape, copper foil, they call it. And you use your iron to solder and flux. So yeah, there's a lot to the process. So you get your pattern, and it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You have to cut out each little piece. Every single one of those is cut out separate. And then everyone is taped. And then everyone is soldered. And then when you're finished soldering it, you patina it to get it black, or you can leave it the copper, the silver. I usually go for the black because it seems to pop my background. So.
You have just finished that guitar.
Yes.
Are you planning on doing another one, a series?
No. No. It was a challenge, I tell you. I right now I say no because I've worked. It took me 2 weeks, whereas usually the design itself just took me about 3 days, because with 30 years experience, 3 days is still lots. 2 weeks to get it to fit, and the guitar to hold it, and then how do you put glass onto wood, and all these challenges, and you kind of go by the seat of your pants sort of thing. What glue you could put on, or I tried soldering, putting it on solder, and you can't because you're going solder to wood and the binding. It was a learning curve, but we did it. As I say, my attitude is I can, I will.
Is it easier to work with wood or with metal?
Metal, metal, definitely. Wood, the nice thing about snowshoes is when you do it all, it's all done separately, your insert, and then you put it in with your silicone seal, which gives it that, keeps it. So it's how you mount it when you're finished that it becomes a problem. You have to really understand what you're doing and where you're going. But I've taught children how to do it, and they love it. It's something that if you're afraid of it, don't go, because you're going to cut your hands sooner or later with glass. And usually it's very seldom, you get to the point where very seldom. And even the little ones, when they come in, they have no fear. If you have no fear, you have no cuts. And they go away with a finished product.
You seem very comfortable working on large pieces.
Oh, yes, I love it. The challenge, that's the whole thing. The smaller they are, the more intense, they're the little ones like the little bitsy pieces, but for me, that's time consuming. And yet you spend more time with very little return. Like to do a little wee bird, it's it's very small and taping, and even with your windows, you're taping very small areas, very tedious and time consuming. You don't get, if you're planning to sell it, you don't get returns on your money, but it makes a nice effect if you want gifts for family or that. And it's it's a lot. You have to have a love for glass, I think, or a love for a challenge. That would be more like it.
What would you say was the most challenging thing that you've done?
The guitar. The guitar. At the beginning, had I not come to this, the most challenging thing was when I was in the learning stage, just beginning to learn the craft. I did those big windows for my daughter, and I wasn't aware of how you really had to stabilize them so that they didn't wiggle or break, because the glass would break and your project's gone. I would say, to begin with, you start slow. You grow as you gain confidence. You start wanting bigger things.
Your artwork requires a lot of balance.
Yeah, perspective. Yeah, balance, and that's kind of what draws you to nature. The balance comes from nature, and I think it's just your own inner balance brings it forth too.
Behind you, you have two birds up and one bird down.
Oh, that one?
Yes, how did you do that one?
that was that was a triangle that I bought offline, and with this one, the triangle itself, and then I did the three birds separate, and every little piece has to be cut, and then I saw it online. So you talk about copycat, but that was fun too. That's a creative thing. What to do with a piece of triangle? Like, I always look for different ways to display it, so that that makes it unique to me.
Do you get commissions?
I've done a few. I did one commission, a big one, for a boy who had a young man, but he has a great love for religion and the cross and the dove. So I did a huge one of a cross with the two hands holding the cross and the dove, and he he loved it. He put it up in his window, but that was a challenge. But And then dogs, the people want dogs and cats, and I don't do that. You're trying to replicate a picture, whereas stained glass is an impression, not a picture.
When people make a commission, what would you recommend that they be aware? Because glass is different, it's not a painting.
The first thing I say is, I try to show them what we go through, what they want, a picture or something similar. I create sketches on what they have given me and bring it back to them before I even get to the glass. So we figure all that out, the glass, the color, and then as I'm working at each stage, I show them where I'm at so that we kind of work together through it. I don't just take it and say, okay, and go ahead and set it down. They have to be with the project all the way so they get what they want. And if they don't want, I always tell them, if they don't like it, don't take it. I can always sell it to someone. And if you break it, bring it back to me. I can always repair it. And that's another art in itself, repairing stained glass.
Have you collaborated with churches or other establishments?
No. The thing is, when you go to churches and that, their stained glass has been done with very toxic materials. Our stained glass, even our foil, everything is upgraded to today's standards. So you can end up with serious lung problems if you're going into something like that. If you're doing any repairs, make sure you know your craft before you do it, because it wouldn't take much to create a problem. They're very toxic in their solders. They're a lot of, and they also say when you're working, even with our solder today, which is 60-40, or you can get it 50-50, they say use a fan, keep a fan in the room. So you can't just walk in and just go. You have to do some research. But it is a fun one to start with.
It's the beginning of a new year. What are your projects for this year?
My project for this year, we're just getting into out here. What really sells for your summer tourists are these clotheslines, and they are devils to make because they're small, and they you don't get your money back, but it's good use of your pieces, because as you cut, you have lots of pieces that. So clotheslines. One interesting thing that my granddaughter showed me was she had a clothesline for Christmas made out of material, all the little clothes that come for Santa and Mrs. Claus. And I looked at that and I said, I'm going to try that in stained glass. And I did. And I remember they are so hard to do because they don't have much to keep them together. Whereas you put them in something that kind of holds them so that they'll take quite a bit of movement. But with these little pieces, they're small and the tape comes off easy, and I've done more repairs on them than they're worth. But they are different. For this year, I tried the guitar. I probably will, after I get over my fear of it, go back and really try to incorporate it, because it's pretty easy around here to find old guitars. Music is really high in Newfoundland, and that is probably the next way I'll go, is towards their music and their culture and bring that out in there. I have it in the mummers, and then the fishing, but now I'll try their music.
Would you also use a violin?
I haven't thought of it, but that's an idea. That's an idea. It's to be able to get the design off the bottom so that I can if they come apart as easily as a guitar, when I was amazed how thin the guitar wood is and how fragile it is, really. So that's a learning curve. It's something I might think about.
And it would probably look good also on a drum.
I do have a couple of native drums, but and most of their drums are, they are very precious and they're sacred. They're claimed as sacred items. So it would be more difficult unless you go to a play drum, children's drum.
Are you participating in group shows?
I did workshops, a lot of workshops, and I've always come away disappointed because the people, let's face it, in this day and age, people can't afford it. And to get into stained glass today, it's extremely expensive. I was just telling the person the other day when I went to buy a 12 by 12 piece of red glass, they wanted $75 for just a 12 by 12. My goodness, that's nothing in glass. In your big pieces, it's gone. So your glass has gone crazy. Everything, our solder went from $6 a spool to $32 a spool. Ridiculous. Of course, that was 30 years ago when I got into it, but that's from there till now, $32 a spool, and that doesn't go very far. It's only a pound. So your materials, the price, they look at it, they like it, but then when you're facing the charges that they're putting on us for groceries and children's wear and everything else, they can't afford it. So what I do now is I usually use it for gifts and make them for gifts or someone special or I've donated to. I really like the animal shelters, so I've donated. I've made actually the lanterns with the cat all the way around in different positions in front of a fireplace or out on the beach or on a stack of books, like so that, and gave it to the donated it there because that they all have these auctions and it makes more money there than me selling it. So I've done that, and I enjoy doing that too. If somebody asks me, even the town I'm in, my son donated one of the mummers on the water in the boat, sitting in a boat, to the town council when they had a fundraiser. So that's where, and as I say, that makes me feel good to know that you're giving back.
If the prices are going up for the glass and supplies and, so many things, tools, it'll be more difficult for artists to also create art.
Oh, yes. The thing is, you have to really find ways to use your your little pieces. And that's where the little, like the clotheslines and that come in. You don't lose your little pieces when you got you take a big piece out of the center and you're only going to get so much for it. So you get creative. It really inspires your creativity to how can I use it up and make my money go further.
Is it possible to recycle glass?
Oh, I have done lampshades out of old recycled lamps. You know the glass lanterns that you get in flea markets? I pulled it apart and redid it and made big round gifts like this, but with the stained glass. Put it in a circle. So this has a lot of recycled glass in it, and that's how you use it. So yeah, they repurpose that way.
It sounds to me that your pieces, they don't really reflect the true cost
Right.
and the true investment that you're putting into them.
I make no money at it. But as I say, I am really privileged because I have my school. I taught for 40 years, so I'm not dependent on that. Like some people, some artists who go in at whole hog, and that's their lifeline. Wow, you really have to sell a lot. So as a hobby or a sideline or help your income, it is good. It's great when you get old because it keeps your mind going and it keeps you nimble.
Your customers, your clients are mostly from your area?
Um, yeah, they are most of them. Grand Falls area, Gander. I've went online. Was on Etsy for a while and shipped to the States and to out west. But now the cost of shipping and the way they handle them, no matter how good you pack them, there have been breakages which come back and you have to, which is repairing, and it's your shipping that costs. So you defeat yourself when you have to do that.
How do you see the future of stained glass?
At the prices they're going to limit it to somebody, to those who've been in it already and don't want to give it up. They'll pay, like I'll pay the price and do without or you'll do it and you can't charge your time. It has to be a hobby at this age, and that's a shame because I know the glasser that taught me and the Sue. He was in it in the business and had a shop. If you want to get into it full force, you have to own a glass shop to sell it in order to compensate for your glass.
So it's really good for you. You have this shop.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it. I love the challenge, and it keeps me going. At 85, I say I've got no problems at all health wise, and I say because something like that keeps you inspiring. Keeps if you get to something you love, I save in medication. What I pay in glass, I save in medication, and that's my theory anyway.
In summer, you get lots of tourists. Do they come to you?
Um, we've been moving around a bit. We're in Springdale and then Grand Falls and then up to Lewisport. So it's just now that we're getting into one spot so that we can decide. And if that's the case, we're talking about putting my shed closer to the highway so that he has a takeout on the highway. So he's saying, I'll haul it up there and put it on the highway for you. And that would work. So we're just getting to that point now.
For those who would like to get into this type of art, but they are considering costs, challenges, what advice would you give?
I would say if first of all find somebody who would like to tutor you. And like I've taught people, and that case, all they do is pay for an initial fee, and the glass and the equipment and your saw is over $1,000. Your grinders are $500. All of that is available to you. So if you wanted to get into it, I would say find somebody who would back you, who would let you come into their shop and work and then you'll find out if you really want to invest your time and money into it. And I haven't met a glasser yet that hasn't said, come on. People working in glass know what it's like and how it's expensive, and they love to share. Any that I know and talk to, they all like to help anybody. If they can get you into glass, that'll help us.
What was your main motivation that kept you going for decades?
I think my thrill of teaching. Like I taught for 40 years. I taught everything from JK right up to OAC, the old OAC, into the grade 12s, and like I always said, when I got to the time where I got tired of the little ones, I'd move up, and I did. And just the joy of teaching, joy of seeing them light up like a candle when they, look at I did it. Whether it was a project on paper or a project in glass or whatever it was. That's what got me, and that's what got me into glass too, is the ability to help see the little ones come in and make a little angel and go out and, Ma, look what I did, and they can hang it in their window, and they're so proud of, it gives them self-worth. And that's my ongoing thing, I think, is teaching.
What is your favorite piece?
My favorite piece, let's see. The next one I do is always my favorite because I've learned something from the last one. So my very first piece was, I gotta get this off here. This has been not my very first piece, but my first learning curve was when these people were all in tow. And getting that to be, I worked on that for about 2 months. That was in my beginning stage. So I keep this one. I haven't sold this one because that's one of my, and a glass and a lamp in my bedroom. So I see where I started, and I had to have an awfully good teacher to get me this far. And that's the joy, getting them this far when they start. Like my sister-in-law, she says, I don't do crafts. I'm no good at crafts. I have no patience. She's a lot of patience because she's done some marvelous things. So seeing that is inspiring in itself too.
So how can people find you and, stay in touch with your projects and your artwork?
I'm on Facebook. I'm not on all the time, but I do have a Facebook page which has my phone number, and my son keeps track of me and says, you check that Facebook page, somebody's talking. But it is on Facebook, Highland Mist Stained Glass, and I'll usually come up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. I really enjoyed talking to you.